All right, it's Wednesday night, and it's the last. I mean, kind of the last Wednesday night of the preseason. Next week will be game week, and everything will be getting ready for Pitt Duquesne next Saturday. So we're 10 days away from that. Oh wait, Voodoo IPA said only 8 more full days till kickoff. I guess that's true. I mean, today's not a full day. That the game day, you wouldn't count that. So there's 8 days between now and game day. Voodoo IPA says it's time to start planning the breakfast tailgate. It's been so long since I've been to a tailgate. I don't know what I would do for a noon game if I would tailgate at a noon game, and how I would approach that. I know people go all out and they'll have like breakfast foods and stuff like that. The first 2 games of the season are noon games. I was just looking back to reconfirm that the Duquesne and Central Michigan are both noon games. West Virginia is a 3:30, but I wouldn't recommend tailgating at West Virginia anyway. But either way, it's our last weekly, our last Wednesday night live show of the preseason. Next week, I'm going to count that as being in the season since it'll be during game week. I mean, that basically counts as being in season. So our final preseason live Panther-Lair show means it's time to do the over-unders, which we did last year, and I think we had so much fun with it. I want to make it an annual tradition. I don't think we did it 2 years ago. Jim will have to ask Jim if he remembers, but I know we did it last year. We actually had quite a bit of fun with that, and I think people enjoyed it. It was fun. We polled all of the local media one morning at practice, and then I asked Jim for all of his answers, and I actually recorded them. So we can see how Jim did last year. I said on Twitter we would find out how smart Jim is. Well, we can look at his record from a year ago on the 27 over-unders that we put out last year. This year I've got 31. I've got even more over-unders for Jim this year, and we'll see how smart he is in 2025. But either way, you know the deal. It's the live Panther-Lair show here on a Wednesday night. YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com so you don't miss any of our Pitt video content. We have our daily morning videos every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Our weekly live show every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. We have post-game shows, press conferences, interviews, practice highlights, all kinds of video content all right here at YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com. So make sure you like this video and subscribe, because if you subscribe, then you can turn on notifications. You can get alerts sent to your phone. And anytime we go live, you will know we are ready, and you won't miss it. So like and subscribe, and then of course check out the website Panther-Lair.com. It's Pitt side on the 24/7 Sports Network, and it's the best place to get your Pitt sports news: Pitt football, Pitt basketball, Pitt recruiting, Pitt transfers, Pitt everything, and message boards to talk with other Pitt fans all day, every day. Pitt fans are hanging out, talking about Pitt sports on the message boards at Panther-Lair.com. Just a couple comments that were already posted. Like I said, Voodoo IPA is looking forward to the breakfast tailgate. Let's actually bring Jim in. We'll give him a second to look up from whatever he's doing there. I didn't want to bring him in totally candid. There you are, Jim. I want to give you a second to get done with whatever you were doing. But Voodoo IPA said about a breakfast tailgate. Have you ever gone to a breakfast tailgate, Jim?
Yeah, I think a few noon games. I've been tailgated in so long since I've been doing this, but yeah, I think so. You remember a couple years ago, maybe, well, not a couple, but Pitt played a homecoming game against Louisville at 11 a.m. Do you kind of remember that?
I remember in the Paul Christ era, there was an 11 a.m. game. Are you going back that far, or are you saying since more recently than that?
No, I guess that's more than a couple years ago. That's like a decade ago. But yeah, I do remember the 11 a.m. game. So I guess that day you almost had to do a breakfast tailgate.
Yeah, you had no option. The only reason I distinctly remember that is because in the Monday press conference leading up to that game, I think it was Joe Starkey was like, Paul, you've got this 11 a.m. This was back when members of the broader Pittsburgh media would attend Pitt press conferences. And he's like, Paul, you've got this 11 a.m. game. Have you ever even played a game at 11 a.m. before? And Paul was like, well, we used to play in the Central Time Zone all the time. So all what you guys call noon games, they all started at 11 a.m. for us anyway. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. Local time, they play 11 a.m. games in the Big Ten all the time. So it's not quite as unique as he thought it was. Boy, I don't even know how early you'd have to start. Some of our people out there, either listeners or people in on Twitter, are definitely hardcore tailgaters, right?
Oh yeah.
I just immediately recognize him on Twitter. The Willow Gears.
Yeah, the Hailgate.
Yeah, right. I mean, those guys are like hardcore. Our friend Lauren, Lauren, the bodybuilding beer monster. He's the man, and I think he's a big like tailgate. I think they all probably it's all one tailgate. I'm just naming random people who all attend this one big tailgate, and they're going to go. There was something Pitt released today about Pittsburgh Day for the Pitt Duquesne game, and they were talking about how there's going to be a hailgate for that. But yeah, I mean, so those guys I think go all out and really bring the food, and probably for a noon game, I guess they bring the breakfast food. I've never been a part of it, so. Or if I have, it was a long time ago. If you were going to go to a noon game right now, like on Saturday, as not in a professional setting and you weren't working, how early would you get there for the tailgate? Let's assume that the lots open at 7 or 6. I don't know what time they open.
I would think being in the lot around 9:30 is probably appropriate.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I don't want to be one of those guys walking in as they're unlocking the gate. That's it's still a little dark out. I don't want that.
Right. But you want at least 2 hours to hang out in the lot, right? I mean, you want at least 2 hours, especially if you know other people there. You want to move around and that kind of thing. 412 Pitt fan says, just got my tickets, wondering what the turnout will be for the Duquesne game. I didn't do an over-under on this, Jim, but over-under announced attendance... Over-under announced attendance, 42,515.5.
I'll say over. I feel that first game, there's usually energy, just that natural opening day effect. Plus, there might be a couple Duquesne fans that show up, and I don't know. It's Rib Fest. It's Pittsburgh Day. I saw they're going to have Pittsburgh musical acts throughout the game. I'm interested to see how that goes. I wonder who it's going to be.
I mean, there's only 3 options, right? I don't know if the Jaggers still play, but I mean, it's pretty much the Clarks and Donnie Iris, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
maybe Donnie Iris will do a Sweet Caroline cover.
I mean,
that would be electric.
Just do Aaliyah. I mean, I don't want to hear him sing Sweet Caroline. Actually, that should take over as the third quarter song, Aaliyah. I don't know how. I mean. Would you pronounce that Aaliyah or Aaliyah? I mean, it's spelled Leah.
I would say I'd say the first one. I'd really emphasize the
I mean, there's an exclamation point in it. Yeah, right. Other highlights of Pittsburgh Day: a limited edition Pittsburgh Day rally towel designed just for the game. Mascot Mania pregame and in-game appearances from Pittsburgh's favorite mascots across sports teams. So I'm guessing that means Steely McBeam will be there. The 35th annual Rib Fest, which, I mean, that's a Pittsburgh Day highlight, but it's always there. Live in-game music featuring artists from right here in Pittsburgh. Donnie Iris, the Clarks. I mean, can they afford Donnie Iris and the Clarks? I feel like you get one or the other.
Yeah. I don't know what the budget is for that.
Rusted Root?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But you couldn't afford all 3 of them. Could you afford 2 of the 3? Donnie Iris, the Clarks, and Rusted Root?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how much Donnie Iris costs these days for live performances.
I bet Joe Grishecki could do Sweet Caroline. Talking about someone covering Sweet Caroline. Actually, it would be Donnie Iris backed up by Joe Grishecki in the House Rockers doing Leah. Or maybe a sweet national anthem. Who sings the national anthem of a Pittsburgh artist? Is it Donnie Iris? Is it Joe Grishecki? Is it the Clarks guy? I apologize to the Clarks guy. I forget his name.
Is it Scott Blasey or something?
Yeah.
What if Wiz Khalifa comes back? I mean, he did, bring him to the O. That's Pitt's new anthem, right?
And I mean, that wasn't cheap. So again, we're into the question of how much do you pay? Wait, I just thought of someone else. I was like, oh, could they pay him or could they get that person to come in? But now I forgot who it was. Could you get the guy who sings the anthem at the Penguins games to come in and sing?
Jefferson.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good thing. I mean, I'm guessing they'll let the Pitt band do the national anthem, but if Jeff Jefferson gave vocals, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be awesome. Pittsburgh themed trivia and video board content celebrating city landmarks, legends, and local favorites. interactive contests and city-centric game day activations for fans of all ages. I'm curious about this word activations. Does that mean it's something on your phone, you think? Interactive contests and city-centric game day activations?
Yeah, like maybe like scan your phone on the scoreboard and it shows up and you have to do something that way.
And then all of a sudden you find out you're getting text messages from Chris Deluzio or some other politician. Coming soon, and I'm reading from the press release here, the verbiage, and coming soon, exclusive 412 themed ticket and merch deals. Now, my first response to that is, well, you got to watch out for trademarks, right? Because the 412 trademark, and we've learned about this is an issue here. You can't put 412 on things without getting it cleared by the owner of those 3 digits in that particular order. But ticket, what did I say it was? Ticket, 412 themed ticket and merch deals. So are we thinking like a physical ticket here? Or are we thinking shirts that have the Pitt and Duquesne logos with a 412 on it?
I could see like some sort of t-shirt. Like you see like every year, like the Pitt West Virginia game, there's like some sort of like backyard brawl branded, both helmets on the t-shirt type thing. So I don't know, like I miss physical tickets. I used to like, I still have like a shoebox full of like all like my old pirate tickets and concert tickets. So like, I think that's one thing of the digital era that I kind of dislike. I liked having that physical ticket.
Yeah, for sure. I have a bunch of concert tickets from like 1997, like in a scrapbook, and it's cool. It's fun to look back on. Those are memories, and it's be fun. It's be fun. Good language there. Let me see. Some people were chiming in here. Where was it? Oh, here, Voodoo IPA says breakfast tailgating includes barrel-aged Imperial breakfast stout beers. Forget the coffee, 8:30 in the lot. If I start drinking barrel-aged Imperial breakfast stout beers, I mean, first of all, I have celiac disease, so I would like be throwing up in a couple hours, and it would be really horrible. But even without celiac disease or any kind of gluten sensitivity, I suspect if you started drinking barrel-aged Imperial breakfast stout beers at 8:30 in the morning, you'd be passed out by the time the game kicks off anyway. I would, at least. Wouldn't you? I mean, that doesn't sound like a light beer to start your day with.
No, and I guess if like that's a game you're going to do it, like you might just do it for the Duquesne game. Like there's other games you probably want to pay attention to, but if you feel like you could sleep through the Duquesne game, then go ahead and have the breakfast stout.
412 Pitt says it's going to be Chevy Woods or G Herbo if it's rap. I think Chevy Woods was affiliated with that Wiz Khalifa song, the Take Him to the O song.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
maybe a live performance of that, but again, that just doesn't come cheap. I wish I could think of who I was thinking of. Local Pittsburgh. Oh, I'll think about it later. Anyway, it's our over-unders, Jim. And I don't think we did this. Like last year was probably the first year we did a lot of over-unders, wasn't it? Or did we do it 2 years ago as well? Do you remember?
I think it started 2 years ago because hopefully we burnt the footage because I probably said some like weird things about Phil Dracovic. So like, we started them last year, not 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Well, last year we had 27 over-unders. I did a little tallying. You actually went 19-8 on the over-unders. So you did pretty well. The way we did it, we kind of went through it with the local Pittsburgh media who was assembled at practice that particular day. There were about 8 people there. And then we went through it with you as well. Some of the more notable ones you missed on.
Probably quarterback.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. Desmond Reed touchdowns. Now, like this, I mean, like I might have missed my calling. I set the Desmond Reed touchdowns over under at 10.5. How good is that?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a line right there.
That is good. All 8 members of the local Pittsburgh media took the under. You took the over. Desmond Reed, of course, had 10 touchdowns. So the rest of the Pittsburgh media got that right. You got that wrong. Konate Mumfield catches. This was an interesting one. I set the line at 70.5. Ended up with 52. You and only 2 members of the Pittsburgh, or you took the over on that, as did 6 of the 8 members of the Pittsburgh media. So you guys all kind of blew it on that one. Kevin Bartholomew touchdown catches. I set it at 5.5. He had 4. Most of the Pittsburgh media took the under on that, but you went over. You were wrong. Daniel Carter touches. This was interesting. I said it at 19.5. And you know that I never thought Daniel Carter would touch the ball ever. I thought that was way overshooting it. He ended up with 25 offensive touches. So you went under on that one. Most of the media went under on that one. Only a handful of people got that one right with the over. Nate Yarnell starts again. I set this at 3.5. How good a line is that? I mean, like, and that one was one where all 8 members of the Pittsburgh media and you went over on that one. Nate Yarnell, of course, started 3 games. So that's pretty good. You know, I got to say, I nailed that one, and you guys all got that wrong. Some other ones you were off on. Quarterback rushing yards gained. This is interesting. I said the number 299.5. 7 members of the Pittsburgh media and you went under on that. Quarterback rushing yards gained ended up being 673 last year, which is an astonishing number. Particularly when I set the number, I set the over-under 299.5. You guys all got that wrong. Would you have guessed if I had asked you like 10 minutes ago, hey, how many rushing yards did the quarterbacks gain last year? Would you have said more than 600?
No, because I thought like Eli had like around 300 something. I know Julian Duggar had probably around 90 in the bowl game, but like, yeah.
Oh, I mean, Duggar finished with, I think, more than 100. Eli was like over 400, I think, in yards gained. So, I mean, it was important that it wasn't net rushing. So the sacks didn't come off. But
Okay,
Eli in yards gained had 466 rushing yards, and Duggar had 115, and Nate Yarnell had 92. I think I included David Lynch's 2 yards, but it ended up being at 673. Other notable ones: interceptions thrown, team wide interceptions thrown. I set the number at 12.5. They ended up throwing 16. You took the under, as did 7 of the 8 Pittsburgh media members. So you were way off on that. Nate Matlack sacks. I set it at 7.5. You went over. That one ended up being under. But all the other ones you got right. There weren't too many others. This was interesting. You got this one right. Most of the media did not. I said Donovan McMillan tackles 97.5. Only 1 member of the Pittsburgh media went over on that, plus you. So that one hit pretty strong. And was there another one that the media messed up on pretty good? Oh, Desmond Reed total touches. I thought this was interesting. I set it at 155.5. You went over. Only 2 of the 8 media members went over. He finished with 235. You know, you have to also remember, this was like the last week of training camp. We didn't know about Rodney Hammett's suspension yet at that point. So some of these other over-unders are like Rodney Hammett percentage of running back carries, 51.5 was the over-under. Rodney Hammett touchdowns, 8.5 was the over-under. You know, so we were still expecting Rodney Hammett touches per game, 15.5. He had 14 total on the season. So yeah, but at this point, we were still expecting him to play and be the number 1 back. We thought Rodney Hammond would be, prominent, and then his suspension was announced, a little bit later. So that kind of shifted our expectations. But that was last year, though. This year, we've got even more. I've got about 30. Now I added one for the Duquesne attendance. You're going over on 42,515.5
announced. Yeah, I'll take the over.
Over. Okay. Gotcha. So we have 32 over-unders here. Some of these are duplicates from last year, adjusted with the number-wise, and we'll start with Desmond Reed. Touches, Jim. I said the number 250.5. In 11 games last year, he had 235 offensive touches. This year, I'm setting it at 250.5. What are you taking there?
I'm going to go over, and I think my logic is that the game, like, 2 of the games that Desmond Reed missed, one was the FCS game. Like last year, if Desmond Reed wanted to, he could have had 300 yards against Youngstown State last year. So like, I'm guessing they're not going to overwork him in week 1, but I'm guessing he'll get those like 16 touches and kind of maintain what else he did. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he could have had 300 all-purpose yards in that game and could have, then he would have had 2,000. All-purpose yards, which, I've talked about a bunch of times. That's pretty rare occurrence in Pitt history. Desmond Reed touchdowns, total touchdowns. He had 10 this past season. I'm setting the number at 11.5.
I'm also going over there, and I think in one of my predictions in one of the 3-2-1 columns this summer, I said he was going to get to 20. So I think so if people are going to, look back and check me on things, so like I got to remain consistent. So I do. And the precedent I went with that is I looked at Izzy Abanikanda. In 2021, he had 9 touchdowns. In 2022, he had 21 touchdowns. So there is precedent for a running back to just, kind of explode with touchdowns. I think Reed will, just the way he's used, he's going to score more.
It's just what's going to be interesting is there's so much work in the passing game. There's so many passes. Last year Reed had 4 receiving touchdowns, but like Raphael Williams had 6. Kanate Mumfield had 5. Kenny Johnson had 3. Gavin Bartholomew had 4. Sincere Lee had 3. The ball, a bunch of guys had 1. The ball gets spread around. Plus, you're going to have quarterback rushing touchdowns as well. I'm not ruling it out. I think Desmond Reed is I might have a special teams touchdown. No, I didn't do that. Oh, no, I have it for total team special teams touchdowns. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 2 special teams touchdowns. I think he'll go over as well, but I don't know. I mean, like, Izzy Abanikanda in 2022 was the only player who scored touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't getting rushing touchdowns out of Keaton Slovis. They weren't really throwing the ball all that well. So I forget what Slovis ended up with passing touchdowns, but it wasn't much. It was less than 15, I think. Yeah, right. And so, Izzy was the only guy scoring that year. Jordan Addison in 2021 was the only guy scoring touch. So he had 17 touchdowns or whatever it was. The only reason I think it might be tougher for Reed is just because there are more mouths to feed here. Desmond Reed all-purpose yards. He had 1,700 this past season. I'm setting it at 1,899.5. So it's basically a question: do you think he'll get 1,900 or more all-purpose yards?
I'm going to take the under. I'm just interested how much he's really used in the return game. Because if you look last year, I think he had 13 actual punt returns where he caught the ball and ran with it. I think I maybe
You're right.
checked. So I still wonder if that's going to be going on as much. I mean, he had 1 big return last year, and that was kind of it. So I still think he can have, I don't know, that's still 1,000 rushing yards. That's still 500 receiving yards. I still think he's going to do what he's going to do. I don't know if the return game is going to be as big of a deal for him.
It's interesting to look back. I'm probably going to write about this because I was going through and looking at all of his. So last year was the first year Desmond Reed ever returned punts, ever in his career. And the first time he had a punt kicked to him, he caught it and returned it 78 yards for a touchdown. So pretty promising start. The next time he gained yards on a punt return was the SMU game, and he had a 9-yard return. And in between, Kanate Mumfield did the final 2 in the Cincinnati game. Kenny Johnson did the West Virginia game, the UNC game, the Cal game. So they kind of took him off that. Now, he had some other good returns. He had a 9-yard return against SMU, a 22-yard return against SMU, a 13-yard return against SMU. He had a pair of 14-yard returns against Virginia, but then he kind of tailed off. He had an 11-yard return against Toledo. One thing Jacob Bernowski said to me is that he felt like Reed was still learning how to be a punt returner last season. It didn't really know what he was doing. So he'd let the ball bounce, or he wouldn't fair catch, or he wouldn't return it when he should. I think he's going to be better at it. I think they're going to use him as much as they possibly can. And your point about the FCS game is interesting, Jim, because with the FCS game in week 4 or whatever it is, it's a lot easier and makes more sense to kind of hold him out of that game. But when it's week 1, what are you holding back, right? You might as well run him out there and let him put up yards and just eat. Even if he doesn't have 30 touches or something, you might as well let him go out there and play. All right, Ja'Kirian Turner, total offensive touches, 25.5. I feel like I set this low, but 25.5.
I'm going to go over just for the fact that there's really only 3 healthy scholarship running backs going on right now. So I think just out of general usage, he's probably going to touch the ball more than 25 times. I mean, I think between last year, Rodney Hammond, Derek Davis, Daniel Carter, Joel Goff, I'm just talking carries. They had 78 carries split between them. So I think there's room for another back to carry the ball. And it just sounds like he's kind of built like Reed and that he can make plays in the passing game. So I think he can function out there. And I think 25.5 touches feels right for him.
Yeah. I mean, just looking, Derek Davis had 30 touches. To your point, Daniel Carter had 22 plus 3. He had 25 touches. So Daniel Carter being, third among the running backs in touches was 25. But like you said, it was sort of spread out a little bit more. You had Juelz Goff in there. Rodney Hammond was in there a little bit. I think I set that low, but I could also see a world where as the third guy, he maybe doesn't get as much work as it's been talked up to. Wide receivers averaging 50-plus receiving yards per game. This was actually one from last year that I did. I set the number last year at 2.5. Almost everyone took the under, and they were right. There was only one receiver who averaged 50-plus receiving yards per game. That was Konate Mumfield. He averaged 67.8. We're just counting wide receivers here. We're not including Desmond Reed, who averaged 52.6. I said the number 2.5 again this year. Wide receivers averaging 50-plus receiving yards per game, 2.5. What do you take, Jim?
I'm still going to go under. I mean, I think Kenny Johnson could potentially get there, and I could talk myself into Blue Hicks getting there. I don't know if I can really talk myself into a third guy getting there. So I think that's kind of where I'm hung up. So like as you kind of mentioned in the past or, earlier in the show, it's like they do spread the ball around a lot. So it's like I think could be a lot of catches for a lot of guys and just probably a lot of guys in that 20 to 35 catch range. And like I don't know if that necessarily equates to 51 yards a game receiving.
Right. Kenny Johnson receptions. He had 46 last year. I'm setting the over-under, I think, at the same number that I set for Konate Mumfield last year, 70.5. Mumfield fell short of that. What about Kenny Johnson?
This is one of the ones I struggled with the most. I'm going to talk myself into the over just because he is like kind of the unquestioned number one receiver in this room right now. I don't know if Desmond Reed's going to have 52 catches again. He might, but like the ball has to go somewhere. They throw the ball a lot. He's the number one receiver. So I could see a world where that happens. And I could see a world where that happened last year for Mumfield if Eli Holstein doesn't get hurt and everything gets messed up. Like I think his numbers took a dip whenever the quarterback, started getting injured.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. I'm just kind of looking. He had 19 catches in the final 4 games. So and that's just the final 4 regular season games. Did Mumfield not play against Toledo?
He did not play in the bowl game.
Okay, so in the final 4 regular season games, he still had 19 catches, which is a decent number. He only had 2 against Virginia. That held him down, but he had 8 against Boston College, 4 against Louisville, 5 against Clemson. Anyway, you're going to go under on Johnson's receptions. Is that what you said?
No, I think I'm going over.
Yo, you're going over. Oh, okay. Sorry. That's right. What I was thinking, and it kind of applied to the 50-yard receivers as well, is it's a different story if you have Eli Holstein out there all season. Those last 5 or 6 games go differently in the outcomes, and I think they go differently in the passing game as well. Blue Hicks receiving yards per game. I set it at 42.5. Last year, I think third among the receivers. Let me see if it was Johnson. Yeah, Kenny Johnson was the third leading receiver on the team last year. He averaged 41.3. So we're saying Blue Hicks, 42.5 receiving yards per game. What do you think about that number?
I think he could get there. I think that's realistic. Just the way he's been talked up this camp, I think he's a deep threat. We saw a little bit of that in the spring game. We've heard about it in the scrimmages. Like it seems whenever there's a big, deep passing play, Blue Hicks is involved. So I kind of like that about his game, and I think that's just good for adding to that total.
Sensor Lee Poppy Williams receptions. We put this on last year's over-unders at 60.5. I had that initially written down here, but they combined for 46 total last year. So I'm actually going to change that number. We're setting the number at 50.5. Sensor Lee, Raphael Williams. They get over 50.5 combined receptions.
I think I'm still going to go under. I was originally under at 60.5. I think I'm going to, stick with it at 50.5. And I think Raphael Williams is going to be one of the 3 starters. I think Sincere Lee is a good player. And, obviously we can't talk about injuries, but he's been practicing, but we all know he's coming off an injury and that has slowed him down a little bit. So it's kind of hard to project what I think of him, because when we talk about receivers, I think anytime you and I have written about receivers over the past 3 weeks, his name never gets mentioned. And it's not because he's not practicing. It's just because I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do this year if he's still working his way back. So I just have a little doubts there.
So you're going under 50.5?
I am going under 50.5.
Gotcha. Sorry, I got distracted because TG says, I just got thrown into this stream from another. Panther-Lair, help me out. We are talking about Pitt football, sir, or ma'am. And we are talking about over-unders. TG says, is this Pitt Panthers? I would assume. You're correct. It is the Pitt Panthers. We're talking about over-unders for the 2025 football season. And so basically this is betting advice. You can either fade us or agree with us. Either one is, Jim went 19-8 last year on over-unders. Right. So you might want to actually follow his bets if you find an opportunity to do so. Tight end catches. Last year, Jim, the tight ends caught 57 passes. We're setting the line this year at 59.5.
I'm going under. I think last year there was a point that it just kind of felt like Kate Bell knew about Gavin Bartholomew. They knew they had this tight end that was pretty talented, and there seemed like at times it felt like he got forced the ball. Like some of those like flips were actually catches, and like they're almost runs. So there was like they almost like just tried to force him the ball at times. And I don't know if they have a tight end this year that they're going to do that to. I mean, I think all three of them can make catches. I think all of them can make plays. I still wonder how big of an impact the tight end has in this offense. So I don't know if it's going to match reception wise.
Let me see here. G Money wanted to know, is the Pitt Duquesne game going to be televised? It's going to be on the ACC network. So that's find it if you got it. Running back receptions, Jim. Last year, the running backs caught 67 passes. Obviously, most of those were Desmond Reed. We're setting the number this year at 68.5.
I'll go under. I'm not totally sold that Desmond Reed's going to be a 50 catch guy again. I mean, he probably could be a 40 catch guy, 45 catch guy, but I don't know about everyone else, so I'm going to go under.
All right, rushing yards per game for the team, 141.8 last year. We're basically asking you, do you think they'll average more rushing yards per game than they did last year? Last year was 141.8. We're setting the over-under here at 145.5. What do you think?
I'm going to buy in and say they could get a few more yards a game. I mean, Desmond Reed's really good. Eli can provide some rushing, and we're hearing that the offensive line's better. They're saying they're running the ball well in scrimmages, and Desmond Reed's not even playing in the scrimmages. So if they're moving Pitt's defense in the scrimmages, I think they can get to 145.5.
All right, we will give you the over on that. There was a comment here. Before we get into some really, I think we got some really juicy ones coming up here. Kurt 46 says, is there anything specifically that warrants the Guerrier hype? Secondary is deep and well coached, so for a freshman to make this noise is notable, but I haven't really heard anything in particular. I mean, the particulars are he's a stud, he's a playmaker. Like, the coaches can't stop raving about him. He's a true freshman, arrived in the spring, impressed everyone when he was here. He's got a good feel for the defense, but he's just got instincts. And I've been told that he can be one of the best safeties on the team. Maybe not this year, but in the long run, one of the best safeties of the guys they've currently got, and maybe one of the best safeties that we've seen at Pitt in the Narduzzi era, which is high praise because that's been a really strong position. I think he's a stud. He's a really good athlete. He's got good instincts. He's a playmaker. He's got a bunch of those takeaway stickers. That's what specifically warrants the Guerrier hype, is that he's too good to keep off the field. It's not like they don't have depth at safety, but he has been too good to keep out of that rotation. That's what I would say to that. Jim, do you have anything?
I would just say that because of Pitt's history at safety, because Corey Sanders and Randy Bates and Pat Narduzzi knows what a good safety looks like, and they've had a lot under them, the way they're talking him up is just notable to me. Like, I don't think they would, overhype someone just to do it. I mean, they kind of talked this way about Cruz Brookins the past 2 years. It was just like, we know this kid's going to be good at some point. Like, there's just something about him. So it's pretty unique that he's being talked up this much. But like, at this point, like, I wrote something today, and I think I led off with the article. It's like, it's just hard to ignore at this point. Like, he's coming up daily. So not every true freshman gets that kind of praise around here.
No, definitely not in a position of depth like that. All right. Eli Holstein, passing touchdowns. He had 17 last year, setting the number at 21.5. What do you think?
I'm going to say over, because I think he would have got there had he not missed 3 or 4 games or whatever it was. So I think he was on track to do that. I think, had he played in a couple more games, he would have got to 20 touchdowns. So I'm going to say over.
You know how many touchdown passes he threw in his final 5 games, Jim?
Not off the top of my head.
2. He threw 2 touchdowns in his final 5 games. He threw 15 in his first 5, 2 in his final 5. Eli Holstein rushing touchdowns. He had 3 last year, all in the first 5 games of the season. I'm saying the number at 4.5. You think Eli Holstein gets 5 or more rushing touchdowns this season?
I could buy into that. I think just because some of his rushing touchdowns, like, were kind of near the goal line, which a lot of quarterbacks do. I mean, I think Kenny Pickett had like 21 touchdowns in his career. Like, so he's a big physical guy. They don't have a big physical goal line back. If you're 2 yards away, I think he's capable of sneaking it, even though they don't go under center. But like, I think he can kind of be that guy to just kind of push forward and be a physical runner at times.
Of course, that's going to depend on how much he plays. Last year, he played 10 games. Eli Holstein, games played in 2025, over under 11.5.
I'm going to say he misses 1 game. Like, I think we talked about it, kind of jokingly, but like late in the year when they play Georgia Tech, we were talking like how him and, Haynes King are similar, and like, what's the over under 0.5 quarterbacks healthy in that game. So I don't know, man. I could see he might just miss a game. Like, I'm just going to cover myself, and I think that's the smart bet.
So you're taking the over, because we're including like postseason. This is not just regular season on any of these over unders. So 11.5. Were you going to take the under on that?
I was going to take the under.
Okay.
So now I'm saying he's missing 2 games. Now that's interesting. No, I'll stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of these things, I'm taking full season. I mean, when we're talking about what they did last year, all the judging of the over unders last year, we included all 13 games. So on a 13 game schedule or more, does he play 11.5 games?
Yeah, all right, I'll change it to over.
Cole Gonzalez, 2.5 games played, over under.
Under.
Really? I mean, like, you got to think at least Duquesne, right? And
I think
maybe be Central Michigan.
Yeah, like those are.
So it just takes Eli getting hurt in one other game, or his helmet falling off, or he stubs his toe, or he can't, he has to go to the bathroom or something like that, and all of a sudden we're hitting the over here.
Or maybe they blow out someone in conference play. Like, maybe they just beat the hell out of Stanford the same way they beat the hell out of Central Michigan. Who knows?
So are you switching to the over?
No, I'm still going to go under.
You're still going under. Okay.
Yeah.
Mason Heinschel, 1.5.
And that's why I'm going under on Cole Gonzalez, because I'm buying Mason Heinschel.
Oh.
I've been in the whole time.
You're going over on the 1.5 for Mason Heinschel.
Yeah, man. He's going to find his way on the field. He's a good player.
Does Mason Heinschel redshirt this year?
I mean, I guess technically he can. Like, he probably will. Like, I don't know if he's going to play more than 5 games. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. Quarterback rushing yards gained, last year was 673. I put it 675.5. So basically, can they rush for a little bit more out of the quarterback position than they did a year ago?
I'm saying no, because they're not going to get that extra boost from like Julian Duggar's 100-yard game at the end of the year. Like, I don't think Cole Gonzalez or Mason Heinschel is going to add into that total.
But I mean, you don't think Eli Holstein would have made up 100 yards if he had played in the 3 other games plus the whole Louisville game and finished the Virginia game?
I mean, like, most of his running was not by design. Like, it was scrambling, improvising, and we keep hearing that, the protection's better and he should be a better quarterback and more confident in the pocket. So I don't know if that's all going to be. I mean, I still think like that's still a lot of yards. Like, I'm not saying he's not going to be a good runner, but I don't know. I'm just going to go under 675.
All right. Points per game scored, 32.9. I set the over under at 33.1. I don't know why I did that, but I guess I'm just saying that they scored what they scored last year and just a little bit more.
I think they'll improve slightly, so I'll go over.
Over 33.1?
Yeah.
All right. And let's see. Sacks allowed. They gave up 43 sacks last season, which is a shocking number. We set the over-under last year on sacks allowed at 19.5. And you and 6 out of the 8 members of the media went over on that number. I clearly set that one too low, and obviously I did because they gave up 43. So we'll bump it up this year, 29.5 sacks allowed.
I'll say under. I mean, like there's still a world where they're better than last year, but like if you still give up like 22 sacks, that's still a lot. But like I don't know, I think that kind of covers me in that I think they'll be better than last year, but they could still, have some struggles.
Okay. And interceptions thrown. They threw 16 last year. We set the number this year at 12.5.
I'm going to go under.
Under 12.5. I was just sitting here thinking I set that number too low and made it an easy overcall. Under 12.5.
I don't know. Like if I think he's going to throw like 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, then all of a sudden that doesn't feel like that great of a season. So I don't know, like in that 16 number, like what was it? Like David Lynch and Julian Duggar both threw pick sixes in the bowl game. Like I think Nate Yarnell had some bad throws too. So I don't know. I'm going to say under. I'm going to believe in Eli. Hopefully he does not make me eat my words. I feel like quarterback is usually when I get into trouble in this over/under segment. Like I have like bad memories of like thinking of like what I said about Phil Dracovic 2 years ago. So and last year I thought Nate Yarnell was going to be the starter like for the full season. So like I've just been totally wrong on quarterback. So I got to like buck the trend eventually.
I just think with the interceptions, like there'll be games where he doesn't throw any interceptions, but there's probably going to be over under 1.5 multi-interception games.
I could probably see the over there. I mean, I think there's going to be some teams that bait him into some throws, and he does have that gunslinger mentality. Like he thinks he can maybe throw that deep ball that he shouldn't, and there's times last year he did that. So, yeah, I could see when they play some of the better teams, he might throw more than one interception.
So if he does that a couple times, that offsets any games without interceptions. I think it's real easy to get to 12 or 13 just because of kind of how he plays. But anyway, all right, total touchdowns. This is offensive, defensive, everything. They scored 51 touchdowns last year. Wait, let me make sure that's offensive and defensive. I think it is. Yeah. 51 total touchdowns scored last year. I'm setting the number for this year, 54.5.
I guess I'm going to go over just because I already said they're going to increase their points per game. So I'm guessing they're going to score a couple more touchdowns to make that happen.
All right. Defensive touchdowns last year, they had 4, over under 3.5.
That's such a weird thing because 3 of them happened in one half of football.
Yeah.
And like they normally don't come in flurries like that. So I don't think they play Kyle McCord this year because he loves throwing interceptions to Pitt. Yeah. They have a lot of playmakers. Let me talk myself into this. Like Cruz Brookins, like he is Mr. Takeaway sticker. Obviously, those linebackers can do some things. So, sure, I'll say over.
Go over. All right. Yeah. And what about special teams touchdowns? They had 2 last year. The Desmond Reed punt return and Brandon George recovering that fumble. You know what's weird? If you look at the ACC's official stat sheet, they list Pitt as having 2 punt return touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're counting Brandon George in that. They must be counting Brandon George, right?
They are.
On the block punt. Okay. So Pitt had 2 special teams touchdowns last year. I'm setting the number 2.5 for this year.
I'm going to say under.
Under.
I feel like I'm due for an under.
Okay. Well, you just went under on interceptions thrown and sacks allowed.
I don't know. There's not a method to this madness, Chris. It's just my rambling thoughts, I guess.
Fine. Kyle Lewis had 101 tackles last year. Kyle Lewis tackles this year, 102.5 DVE rocks.
I like that.
Yeah.
Brand synergy there. I'm going to say under.
Under 102.5. You think he still gets over 100?
I think he gets over 95.
Ooh. Okay. Now, Rasheem Biles, 82 tackles last year, playing fewer games. I got the over-under at 99.5. You think Biles gets 100 tackles this year?
I think he has more than last year, but under 100 this year.
Okay. So you're going under on the 99.5.
Correct.
Pitt's team leader in sacks. Anybody, whoever it is, last year had 7 sacks. This year, over under 8.5.
So I think the sacks as a team is going to go up, and I know that's a category in a few picks here. But I can't sit here and say I see someone that's going to have double-digit sacks on this team right now. And that's not to say I think there's a lot of guys that could get 6 to 7 to 6, 7, 8. Like there's multiple guys that can do that. I don't know if there's just that one guy that I'm just confident that's just going to have a ton of sacks this year. So I'm going to say under.
Under 8.5. Okay. Now, what about the team leader or the defensive end who has the most sacks? The guy who leads the defensive ends in sacks last year was Jimmy Scott. He had 6. This year, does the leading defensive end in sacks have over under 6.5?
Yeah, I like I said, I think there's some guys that can get to 7. I believe in Jimmy Scott to do that. I think, Jaden Moore is capable of doing that. I think Joey Zielinski is even capable of doing that. So I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of guys that could get to 7. I just don't know if there's a guy that's going to get to, 9, 10, 11. That kind of, yeah.
All right. Cruz Brookins, 2 interceptions last year, moves into the starting lineup this year, over under 2.5 interceptions.
Yeah, I think that's just part of it. Like, he got 2 in limited playing time this year. He's going to be on the field a lot. He's known for, being around the ball. He's called a ball hawk by his coaches and teammates. So I think that's just going to be a natural thing that he's going to get more than 2.5 this year.
All right. A couple more here. Team sacks. Pitt had 41 last year. I got him at 43.5 this year.
I would say, just based on this team's history and just the fact that I think they have a lot of guys that, like I said, there's a lot of guys that could get over 5 sacks this year. I'm going to go over. I think just Pitt's defense is naturally attacking. Even last year, I thought it was a down year, and they were still top 20 nationally in sacks. I wouldn't even categorize that as a good pass rushing Pitt team, and they still find their way towards the top of the country. So I think that'll happen again.
All right, team interceptions. They had 13 a year ago. I'm setting the number a little bit low here, 10.5.
I guess I'm going to go over. I think they have a couple safeties that can make plays. Obviously, we saw the linebacker, Kyle Lewis, gets his hands on a lot of passes too. So I'll go over 10.5.
All right, final one here, Jim. Moment of truth. Wins. Last year, Pitt won 7 games. Over under regular season and postseason, 8.5.
Over.
Over 8.5. Jim, still riding high after that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago where we went through the schedule and convinced ourselves that they could do it.
But you throw in the bowl game. What if they just play some dumb team in the Sun Bowl? It could happen. So I think 8.5 with a bowl game. I think that's reasonable.
8.5. All right, Jim. All right, there we have it. That's the 30. Oh, and you also took over on 42,515.5 for the Duquesne announced attendance. So we'll find out about that one right quick. Thank you for doing all that, Jim. Swim Boyd is a super chatter while we were talking there. It says, my first child will be born during the season. Is it better for expectations if his first game is a win or a loss? Better for in what way? I'll tell you this. My first son was born on September 1st, 2012. I always say this at 2 a.m. So I was in the hospital when Pitt was losing to Youngstown State. I did not attend that game. Our guy Josh Sickles covered it because, again, I was in the hospital. My son had just been born. And at that point, I don't think we had a TV in the room, so I couldn't really watch it. I was following updates on Twitter when people would tweet play-by-play. And at a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this phone down. I don't need to follow what's happening in this game anymore because I see where this is headed, and it's not going to turn around. And so, and now, he's a great kid, and he's smart and funny and fun to hang out with, and we have a lot of good times together. So that game was, as far as I can tell, no indicator whatsoever of how the rest of his life would go, at least through its first almost 13 years. So I don't know if it's any, if it matters. Here's what I would say. Probably your best bet is if your child could be born on a Sunday or a Monday, right? So you can be out of the hospital by the next week's game. So you're not, you know what I mean? Because you could probably watch a game in the hospital, but you're in the hospital. So, you get home, you get settled in for a couple of days, and then you have a game that maybe you can even attend, but you can certainly watch it on TV. So that's the best I would come up with. Jim, do you have any advice for Swim Boyd at all?
I don't know. I guess he's wondering, should the kid learn early that Pitt could break his heart? And that can build character. An early loss to Duquesne, you could just really understand what you're getting into. Did you see the other day the Onion had an article, like a fake article, and it
about
was
the
like
Pirates?
Yeah, Pirates like charged for child abuse. Like, so like I don't know, man. Like at some point, like sometimes you see like guys on the message boards, like new guys, they're very overexcited, and like some of like the old grizzled veterans of our message boards be like, dude, you weren't around for some things, man. Like you haven't seen what I've seen. So I don't know. Sometimes it's good to learn early that life isn't fair.
Yeah. That same son was watching the Pitt Clemson game with me in 2016. And I think the first interception, when it happened, I made a certain exclamation. And my son, who at that point would have been 4, walked around going, holy shoot, holy shoot, holy shoot. Because he thought that's what I said. I didn't say holy shoot, but he thought I did. And then 4 years later, we were watching the Pitt Boston College game during the COVID year. Ooh. When I think they went to overtime or whatever it was, and Pitt scored the touchdown. I'm like, all right, looks like they should be in good shape. He's like, well, Dad, they still have to make the extra point. And I'm like, yeah, they do, but I mean, that's got to be kind of an assumed thing. Lo and behold, they missed the extra point. So they've definitely experienced plenty of the ups and downs along the way, but they're good sports about it. So. Let's see. 412 Pitt wants to know, when is Pitt and the Riverhounds going to collaborate together on the stadium? You saw this, right, Jim? The Riverhounds want to build a 15,000 seat stadium. Like, where are you going to park? Like, there was no mention of parking in the press release or the renderings or anything.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like somebody else brought up, I think on the message boards, it's like, none of the highways in Pittsburgh really dump you in that part of South Side either. Like at least like the North Shore, like everything puts you right there. So it's going to be, the feasibility of that is going to be interesting. But I mean, I love that for Pittsburgh. Like I'm glad like people really like soccer, and it seems like the game's growing, and just having another venue in town just for other things. Like it looks cool. Like my first thought is like, man, like I'd love to go see a concert there.
That's although somebody pointed out, like if you were at the ends of the field, I don't know how the sound would be, because that's pretty wide. Like that's wider than sitting like in an arena on opposite ends of a basketball court. You know what I mean? Like side to side. But yeah, having a venue that's like 15 to 20,000 seats for like outdoor concerts and not having to drive to Star Lake, sign me up. Sign me up all day. 412 Pitt says, if Pitt made it to the ACC championship game and you can pick anyone to play, who would it be? I would love either Clemson, Miami, Florida State, or Virginia Tech. All would be really cool. I mean, I think like if you could, I mean, first of all, you would want to pick the team you could beat, right? Like that's the number one objective, is winning. If winning is sort of this foregone conclusion, who would be the best to beat? I mean, you would want to beat Clemson, right? I mean, Clemson's the top of the conference. They're the team that everybody assumes you have to go through. I mean, there are other teams that it would be sort of, you take certain satisfaction in beating Florida State or SMU or, Miami or whoever, but like Clemson's the top of the heap. So I think that's the one you would want to beat, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be the best, you want to beat the best. I think that's what it is. So, like, the year Pitt did win the ACC championship, I'm glad they beat Clemson in the regular season. So, it wasn't just like a weird one-off year. Like Clemson was terrible. Like they got to beat Clemson, then they still got to win the ACC championship. So not that they needed any validation, but like it feels like the conference runs through Clemson, and Clemson's so close to Charlotte. So I think for Pitt fans, it would probably be fun to go down there and win.
Yeah, and maybe it wouldn't rain as much as it did in the last Pitt Clemson ACC championship game.
I did not go to that.
That was an ugly one. I mean, that was one where I was glad I was sitting inside, but it looked really bad outside.
Yeah.
And I think I had a really long walk because I think like the parking was like far from the stadium. So it was you went in 2021. Was the media parking really far from the stadium? Do you remember?
The thing about Charlotte is like there's not like big lots like there are in Pittsburgh. Right. Like everything's just cut up. So yeah, I was like in some weird like green 22 like 4 blocks away or something like that.
Yeah.
And like all the lots were just like 20 spaces here, 20 spaces there.
Right. I feel like I might have parked in a garage or something. And there was a ton of construction, which might just always be happening in Charlotte. 2 people, we were talking about Pittsburgh artists who could perform at the Pittsburgh Day game in Pitt and Duquesne. 2 people, Voodoo IPA and Peninsula P, mentioned Christina Aguilera back to back. So
is she still like a active artist?
I think she's still alive which, I mean,
Okay.
that's all you really need for her to come in and sing. I don't even know what she would sing, fighter song or something like that. So I think that's all you really need. Peninsula P wants to know any word on Damian Dunn's waiver status. It looks like he's playing pro, right? Where is he going, Finland or something like that?
Yeah, he signed a contract with the team, which I guess didn't definitively say he's not going to play at Pitt, but I guess like that's kind of the conclusion we all took from that.
Yeah, I'm going to conclude that that's the case. I wanted to add, obviously tomorrow's the last day of training camp. We'll talk to Pat Narduzzi tomorrow morning and everything like that. He's going to talk about some injuries, and we'll wait with bated breath on that one. But he also said he's going to make an announcement on the starting kicker. What'd you make of that, Jim? He mentioned 3 guys: James London, the transfer that they brought in and put on scholarship, ostensibly to be the starting kicker, and then Trey Bukowski and Sam Carpenter.
Yeah, I thought that whole thing was interesting because I just wanted to know like how the kickers are going. He's like, well, I'll have an announcement on that tomorrow. So I think it's going to be James London, especially because he added the caveat that Sam Carpenter wasn't as good in this training camp as he was in the spring. So I thought it was interesting. He shouted out Bukowski before him. But yeah, I guess it's going to be James London. So I don't know if like he's going to name multiple starters tomorrow, or is it just kicker? Is it just injuries? So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting morning, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like London seemed to be inconsistent. I just, not that you're like locked into you have to start the guy you brought in as a transfer as your, on scholarship, and you have to make him your kicker, but it's just, that was weird. It was weird. And then he like talked about it. I mean, it's not like he really praised the other 2 guys all that much, right? Like he was sort of like, they've just been okay. Well, so isn't that your guy? I don't know. I guess maybe you caught him off guard with that question. He wasn't ready to talk about the kickers yet. But all right, good stuff tonight on the over-unders, Jim. We look forward to revisiting this a year from now and coming up with more over-unders. Swimboyd said one thing that I did want to highlight. Where is it? I think it was Swimboyd who said that. The end of training camp means the anniversary of the morning pit. I always forget that happened. Maybe it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know how long I've been doing that, but I should have mentioned it. Maybe if I remember, I'll mention it on the Friday episode. But that's something, I guess, right? Somebody always brings it up. So I don't remember how long we've been doing it, but I guess that means we've been doing it for a long time. Anyway, make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll have a lot of topics to cover on the Morning Pit. And then, of course, our Morning Pit mailbag on Friday. So lots to discuss there as well. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Jim, thank you for your time. As always, make sure, everybody, you like this video and subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Check out the website, Panther-Lair.com. And have a good rest of the night. We'll catch up with you tomorrow for the Morning Pit right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.